When you retire, you may get a chance to go to football heaven. This is football heaven.
Hello and welcome to The Mission. I'm your host, Jameer Howerton, and as always, we got a cool show for you. Joining us on The Mission today is Black College Football Hall of Famer and Washington football team legend, Doug Williams. That's right, Doug Williams is going to be joining us right here on The Mission. Who better to help us break down the headlines from last week of Gold Jacket Deion Sanders? Oh my God, I can't think of a better person than Doug Williams, because Doug Williams is not only a native son of Grambling State University, but he is also a former head coach of Grambling State. And we're looking for Doug to give us a different perspective. We're looking for Doug to give us some insight as to what Deion is going to go through. So we can't wait to be joined by our special guest, Doug Williams, right here on The Mission. But before we jump into that, let's jump into some news and notes. Well, over the weekend, Gold Jacket Thurman Thomas was honored at his alma mater of Oklahoma State University into the Ring of Honor. We had a chance to catch up with Thomas. Let's take a listen to his thoughts on this huge honor.
I got the call last week from another legendary Oklahoma State guy. This guy just happened to be a wrestler, John Smith. And it was quite the surprise. I knew that they wanted me back for the West Virginia game, but they were more talking about just kind of celebrating going against West Virginia and playing in my last game at the Sun Bowl.
Right, 1987. Yeah.
Right. And so I thought it was just, like something to just want to congratulate me being the MVP. But it turns out that I'm going to be the first one in their Ring of Honor at Oklahoma State University. And they caught me at a good time, and I almost cried. So it's something special. I'm taking my family and have some friends going up. So it's going to be a special weekend, and I really appreciate all the hard work that Oklahoma State has put into to this honor. For me to be the first one, it means to me that not only did I do it on the field, but I did it off the field, and I represented my college very, very well.
In other news, fans, y'all need to vote. The annual Pro Football Hall of Fame fan vote presented by Ford is underway. Fans now can start voting as many times as they wish at profootballhof.com/fanvote to predict the 5 modern era players who will be elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as part of the special centennial class of 2021. Fans who vote automatically become eligible for many sweepstake prizes, including a grand prize trip for 2 to the 2021 Enshrinement Weekend powered by Johnson Controls here in Canton, Ohio. This marks the 11th straight year that Ford, the official automobile of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, has invited fans to predict the outcome of the annual Hall of Fame class. More than 25 million votes have been casted over the past decade. So guys, you got to be in it to win it. It's a way to have some fun. Currently, right now, on profootballhof.com, there are 130 modern era of the best football players that you grew up watching, and get to voting. See if you have a chance to predict the class that the Pro Football Hall of Famers Selection Committee has a chance to predict. That concludes your news and notes. We'll be back with our special guest right after this message.
Next summer, the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Enshrinement Week, powered by Johnson Controls, will be twice the fun in 21. August 5th, the Hall of Fame game is back with the Cowboys taking on the Steelers. Friday, August 6th, the biggest Gold Jacket ceremony ever, with 2 classes receiving their Gold Jackets. The Centennial Class of 2020 will get enshrined Saturday, August 7th, and the Class of 21, which could be headlined by Peyton Manning, will unveil their bronze bust on Sunday, August 8th. Sign up for more details at profootballhof.com.
Welcome back to The Mission, and as promised, we're so honored to be joined by Black College Football Hall of Famer, Washington football legend, and of course,
not only is he Grambling State's own as a player, but he was a head coach for the Grambling State University. We're so honored to be joined by Mr. Doug Williams today, right here on The Mission. Mr. Williams, thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
Well, Mr. Williams, I have so much to talk to you about today, but before we dive into our which I hope to be a very rich and inspirational conversation, the NFL world is saddened and is grieving the loss of the late, great Pro Football Hall of Famer Gale Sayers. Just would like to get your thoughts and reflections on the life of Mr. Sayers.
Well, I think you just summed it up exactly who he is. But, I had the pleasure of meeting Gale Sayers years ago when he was doing games and doing those shows on Sundays before the game. And all I know, he was a class act. And from what I saw of him on film and everything, what he did on the football field, people say he only played a short period of time. But the impact that he's had on this game is undeniable. That hopefully a guy like that, you want him to play for 15 years. But unfortunately, he didn't. But what he did do when he was here, he played the way it's supposed to be played. And all he did was live his life the way that you want to live your life or anybody else to live their life. Because other than what Gale did on the field, what he did on TV, you didn't hear anything bad about Gale Sayers. And that's the person that he was.
Mr. Williams, I really haven't had a chance to ask our Gold Jackets and NFL legends about this, but I'd like to get your take, because a lot of the young talent that we see today that's under center, they stand on the shoulders of Doug Williams, Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon, just to name a few. But when I look at the story of Mr. Sayers and with owner George Halas, Pro Football Hall of Famer, asked of him at that time to be a roommate with a white player, if you could just talk about the dynamics, because I think if anybody can speak to being one of the first and understanding race relationships within the National Football League, you could speak to that.
Well, you're right. You know what? With what's going on today in our society, I go back to the movie Brian Piccolo, and I think that sums up Gale Sayers, who he was, who Brian was. Back in those days, if a white and a black could stay in the same room as teammates, you wonder why we can't do that today. And the owner of the Chicago Bears, you had to take your hat off to him for letting that happen, because you realize then that we all here together. We all got to live together. And I think what they did with Brian and Gale, they made a prime example of what this world should be. And if that's something, they ought to play that all over this country to let everybody see that we all can just get along if we wanted to.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your reflections. Well, another headline news, Gold Jacket Deion Sanders is making waves on the HBCU front. I was talking to Dr. Doom, Pro Football Hall of Famer Robert Brazil, who is a Jackson State U native. I said, Dr. Doom, is it safe to say that Prime Time and the Sonic Boom are one? He says, you already know.
No, he had that heavy voice. You already know. No, that's Coach Prime. It's so good because I talked to Deion actually early September. He gave me a call, and the first thing he said, man, I was thinking about you, and I said to myself, Doug done this, and I need to know the law of the land, the lay of the land. So him and I have had a good talk, and I just kind of told him some of the things that I had to go through at the Historical Black College, but I had played there. It was a little different. I saw some things as a player, and I was always going back. But Deion, I think, watching his press conference, and hey, I don't know what I would have come in that kind of style. I don't think anybody can come in like Deion came in. That was unbelievable. But his press conference, him talking, just listening to him at the podium. If I was a young guy today, I'd be hard pressed not to want to go play for Coach Prime. And if I was a parent that had a kid, I'm sitting there, I'm shaking my head and saying, you know what? I think I want my kid to play for Coach Prime, man. Just sitting there listening to him. I'm not saying that because I went to historical black college, but I heard a guy with passion. I heard a guy that wants to do this job and glad to have this job. And for him to have gone to a Florida State Hall of Famer, who still didn't have to come to Jackson State, but threw his pride to the side and say, you know what, I got a chance to go help some kids. I got a chance to go somewhere where they want me. I think that's the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And I know they're going to welcome him in with open arms, man. And what he's done not only for Jackson State, he's tremendous for HBCU, period, black college, period, to have a Deion Sanders as part of our family and the HBCU as a football coach, Coach Prime.
If you could talk about the legacy, because there's a lot of legacy. Yes, I know college football has its legacy, but when you think of historical black colleges, and when I speak to, the men that are black college football Hall of Famers, I just hear about the legacy and the relationship between player, coach. There's a lot of weight that's placed on that head coach.
It's because you're not just coaching. When HBCU brings so much to the table, man, and when you think about all the guys that have gone to HBCU, you think about the guys that are in with a gold jacket, you got to think about what they had to go through in order to get there. Because most of the guys that are in there, are probably older than I am, and I know their life was a lot tougher than my life coming up. But for what they put in, the time they put in, and the parents put them through to get them an opportunity to go to college, and for them to work their way out of historical black college to the National Football League to Canton, Ohio, with an address in Canton, Ohio, that in itself is a legacy. And I know for a fact, if you've gone to an HBCU, no matter what school you've gone to, when you meet that individual, it's a different feeling. That's family, man. That is family. I know when I was playing early on in my career down in Tampa, and we played guys that have gone to HBCU, they came to town where, you know what, I was at their hotel with bells on to pick them up. We went out to eat. And then when I traveled, they was there to pick me up, and we went out to eat. It was that kinship. It was that friendship. It was that family that all came together. That's something that at black institutions, you can't even describe it. You can't pay for it. It just happens.
And there's a whole nother element to this too. And I'd like you to speak to it, because when you look at these big, predominantly white schools, there's a lot of money that goes into this. And when you look at a football figure like Deion Sanders, this can only help bring notoriety, attention, television dollars, advertisement dollars. I know people have a shoe allotment and equipment allotment, but there's just a lot of money that comes along with that name and notoriety.
And I think that's what has happened with the HBCU over the years. The Power 5 school and the other Division I schools, television turned away from black colleges, advertising dollars, sponsorships, usually go to those schools.
Right.
But if you think about it, before integration, you couldn't get in a black college campus to go to the football game because all the stars was there because they couldn't go anywhere else. And after integration in the early 70s, when players were allowed to go wherever they wanted to go, things changed. The money changed. Not that we was getting a lot of money as HBCUs, but the other schools wasn't so far ahead of us like they are today. Because it's all about the resources, all about the structures, infrastructure that they have that we don't have. And I tell kids all the time, if you want to go to HBCU, go there to get your education and to play if you want to. Don't go there because of material thing. Don't go to the other place because of material thing. But let me tell you something. However many years you spend at another place, whether or not it's HBCU, when you leave, you can't take it with you anyway. It ain't yours.
Great point.
Yeah.
Actually,
and the other thing is this: homecoming.
Oof.
After you put those 4 years in at a historical black college, man, you come to homecoming, no matter when you come, man, they're going to put their arms around because you family. It's dope. But, I don't never hear a lot of players that have gone to the Power 5 school, other school, come back and talk about their homecoming. Because it's not lit like that.
I think Southern and Grambling.
Hey, Bayou Classic.
Bayou Classic.
I played in the very first Bayou Classic in 1974. It was at Tulane Stadium. The dome wasn't even built at that time. We played at Tulane Stadium, 80,000, and I can promise you this, little country boy from Zachary, Louisiana, walked out the dressing room, and I'm looking in the stands, and it's 80,000 black folks. Oh, man, what am I going to do? The only thing I thought about, I said, boy, if they throw a bomb in here, boy, they'd kill a whole lot of black folks in here. Because I never seen that many people playing in Grambling campus. A packed house for us on Grambling campus was about 20,000, and 10 of those 1,000 were sitting on the side of the hill, with all the fraternities and the sororities. So, But that's a big crowd. But to go in and you got 80,000, and the Bayou Classic was born in 1974 in New Orleans, and it's been rolling ever since, man. And when you go down there, it's that family connection. And it's around Thanksgiving too. So there's a whole lot of turkey legs be down in them hotels during that time.
A lot of tailgating. And it brings me to this point. Speaking of this past year, unfortunately, with the COVID-19 and pandemic, we weren't able to have the second annual Pro Football Hall of Fame, Black College Hall of Fame, Classic. But we're gonna have twice the fun in 21, and now we got primetime in the mix. Sonic Boom may come to Canton now.
Well, we working on Sonic Boom. We hoping to get him there in 22, but next year 21 is should be some exciting too, because you're gonna have two teams that have not played in a while and has been one of the two most historical black colleges in the world, Tennessee State and Grambling State University. So we rev it back up, man. When you think about all the guys that went to Tennessee State, Grambling State, Jackson State, over the years that have had an opportunity to go to the NFL. I remember when Walter Payton came out and Raul Brazil in 1974, or their last year was 1974, Jackson State had 9 guys drafted in the National Football League. Grambling had 8. See, that don't happen anymore. That's when football is a swag, and black college was football.
Walter Payton and Robert Brazil. Number 4 and number 6 overall in that draft. That's amazing.
No, that's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. In the first round. And then to go on to be Pro Football Hall of Famers and Black College Football Hall of Famers.
Well, the year before that, Too Tall Jones and Wayne McBride was first round picks. Two guys from black colleges. Back to back in 2 years, So that's the type of football players we used to have before integration came. Now, we still got some good football players. You got some guys that grow to be them guys that you want them to be. It's not like the top guys because, like I say, we get caught up in the hype and hopefully Dion and a lot of other schools can pick a couple of those guys off and bring them back home.
Well, we are definitely celebrating Deion Sanders in his new chapter in his career and life. But that's a great segue because I spoke with Gold Jacket Warren Moon last week, and we talked about the historic number, week 1, 10 black starting quarterbacks, Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Teddy Bridgewater, Dak Prescott, Tyrod Taylor, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, and your Dwayne Haskins. They stand on the shoulders of you. They stand on the shoulders of Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, as I spoke earlier, and the list goes on.
But the good part I'm sorry.
No. I just no. Go ahead.
I was just smiling when you said 10. But the good part of that, out of those 10, 8 of them won. 80% of them won the first week. That was a good feeling in itself. But no, I think we're at a pivotal point now. And I always say this, that back in the day, you used to always hear about the good boy. the ownership and the coaches and the general manager had that mentality that, from a cerebral standpoint, it can't happen. But I think a lot of things has changed over the last few years. It's about who can play. Just think about Kyler Murray, for instance. There ain't no way in the world 15, 20 years ago, Kyler Murray would have been playing. They say he's too small. They wouldn't have been judging his heart. They would have been judging all his ability that he could make things happen. Russell Wilson probably would have went through the same thing. Mm-hmm. But now I think the ownerships, the coaches, the general manager, all they looking for now, who can do the job. And we talked about all these young black quarterbacks that's in the league. I think you got to pit them against the top white quarterbacks in the league. You got Brady, Breeze, and Aaron Rodgers. And then you got to say the age difference. The young black quarterbacks are way younger than the guys that used to manage this whole thing years ago. And the thing about this, it gives guys hope. The quarterback feels at Ohio State, give guys like that hope that, you know what, the only thing going to hold me back is me. Mm-hmm. All I need is an opportunity. The kid up at Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, eventually going to be playing in this league.
Right.
So, hopefully we've gotten past that black quarterback syndrome because, every time it happens, people always call me, want to do an interview on the number of black quarterback. And then one of the big first questions they always ask is, when are we going to get past that? And my answer to them is always, when you stop asking.
Well, it's becoming a norm. Becoming a norm. And because that number is so alarming, you have to celebrate it. You will be remiss if you don't celebrate it. You got to celebrate it.
There's no question. What we got to do now. Well, the thing that's left now is general manager, head coaches, and offensive coordinator.
Okay. Touche.
That's what we got to go
yeah.
along with it. Open the league up to everything.
Absolutely. Right. Well, with that being said, how is your Dwayne Haskins at the Washington football team doing? Do you get a chance to mentor him?
Let Dwayne grow. We still dealing with a rookie here.
Right.
And a rookie with a whole new coaching staff. So he's a rookie twice. He's a rookie from a player standpoint, and he's a rookie that he don't have the same coaches he had towards the end of last year. So he had in 2 years he got to learn all over to be the guy that the coaches want him to be. Talent wise, there's not many guys in the league that is talented. This kid, this kid got on talent. He's tall. He's big. He's elusive enough. It's going to be left up to him and how they teach him and how they coach him and putting the people around him to make it happen.
When you look at these guys, which out of those players game resembles Doug Williams?
Wow. Basically, it's only, I certainly don't have no Lamar in me. And no Russell Wilson. I was probably a poor man at home from a movement standpoint. Poor man. Now that not like I would have to say Haskins is probably closest.
Okay.
From a standpoint, tall, big, can stand in the pocket and throw the football. Didn't worry about running. that was me. I only ran if I had to. And my early years, I had to a lot.
It's like you look at last week where it was like one headline over another. You had Jackson versus Watson. Then the night game you had, Cam Newton, going against Russell. Now, Monday night, you're looking at Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. It's amazing.
No, it's great. It's great for the league, but it's also great for the guys to compete. And what I like to do, I like to see the end of the game, man, when they walk up and hug each other, because for me, from an emotional standpoint, to see two young black quarterbacks hug each other after the game, that was unheard of when I played. It was a shake hand and you ran to the dressing room. But to see them walk up, hug each other, and stand there for a few seconds and talk to each other, It's that brotherhood, man. That's something that myself, Warren, and James Harris, and Randall, we didn't have that opportunity to do that.
What did you think of when you saw back in the day? Well, I didn't say back in the day, but what did you think when you saw Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith coach, not only head coaches of football team, but they went to the Super Bowl?
To me, that was an emotional day for me because I thought back to '88 when I played the Super Bowl, and to be sitting there watching this game with Tony, who I knew, and Lovie, who I knew. And they had worked together, for them to be standing across from each other. Forget about the game, man. Just the historical part of that in the National Football League. Remember how long it took for all this to happen. And I think that's how you look at it. And that's how I looked at it. And it was great to see it happen. You hated that one of them had to lose. I think that was the worst part about the whole thing. But at the end of the day, the fact that they both got a chance to coach in the biggest game on the biggest stage.
Before we put a bow on this and have some fun and talk about your top 5 receivers, I want to ask you about, because I should have asked you earlier this, but I got to go back, your relationship with the great legend, Coach Robinson.
Wow.
Because when I look at Deion Sanders and I look at all the other coaches, and when I listened to Gale Sayers' speech at his enshrinement speech, and we've been like doing our history and researching, and you hear him talk about George Halas, I would just, that's a unique relationship between coach and player. I'd love to get your take on your relationship with the great Eddie Robinson.
Well, I consider myself fortunate. And one of the cliches that coach always uses, I got to be the luckiest man in the world that had an opportunity to play for Eddie Robinson. I can remember the first day I walked in for training camp, and, he made everybody introduce themselves. And here I am, a little rookie, wet behind the ear, don't know what to expect. And I'm sitting in there and got 7 other quarterbacks in the room. And he tells me, "Stand up, boy. Hell, stand up, Cap." So I'm standing up. He said, "Hell, you quarterbacks, hell, I got somebody who can throw it." So I'm sitting there now. I want to beat my chest and stuff like that. And Joe Como, bless his soul, was starting quarterback at that time. And he got up and he said, "Yeah, coach, but he ain't played in the SWAC yet." And I felt this small, so I just sat back down and got back and hid. But being around a coach from a motivational standpoint, man, it took me 3 years of playing for him to realize that he was giving the same speech. For 3 years, every time he said it, I got motivated. I felt like I could run through the wall, and until we got I never forget my senior year, we got to Jackson State. And, Coach was an actor too now. Coach get to talking and he get to crying and talking about how bad they gonna beat you. They gonna beat the hell out you. The guy just be standing there just ready to go. So we was in Jackson in 1977. We was averaging 42 points a game. Jackson was the number one defense in the whole country. We was the number one offense. And I'm sitting there, and I had my receivers. I had Mike Moore, Carlos Pennywell, and Robert Woods. So we all sat together. And Coach went into this speech. Hell, they're going to beat the hell out of you. So I looked at them guys, and we looked at each other, and we all was singing, and we got up. And we was walking out the room. And Coach said, "Yeah, where you going?" I said, "If y'all scared, call the police." And we left. And we beat Jackson like 35-7 the next day. But, it's little stuff like that you learn. But it wasn't about football with Coach every day. No day was all about football. He coached the X's and O's, but he cared more about the Joes. With Coach, it was about being able to handle yourself in public, going to class, getting a degree, going to church, and treating people right, and understanding that nobody could out-America Coach Rob. I don't care who you are. Even today, ain't nobody can out-America. And, we used to wonder, I used to say, "Coach, why are you always talking about America, how great America is, And you're talking about a guy you knew he went through. And he always say, hell, cat, hell, where else you gonna do this at? And he put it all in perspective.
Wow.
And one game, we was playing, the national anthem was playing, and I was standing to his left and had my tight end, Mike Moore. You got to know Mike Moore. I just talked to him this morning. He's a different individual. Was standing to his right. And the national anthem was playing, and Mike was standing there with his fists up in the air. And Coach, I looked at Coach's face, Coach teeth. I don't know why he didn't bite it. He was gritting his teeth. He should have broke his teeth off. He was biting them so hard. And as soon as that last word of the national anthem went off, he caught Mike in the he said, damn, cat, don't you ever do that unless you got some green in between your hands. It's just little things that you got from Coach that kind of egg you on, and when I went back to Grambling, my thing was to be like Coach from a standpoint of being straight, being honest, and letting the kids know that you cared about them. And let them know it wasn't about the football. Don't recruit them to play in the National Football League. Recruit them to walk across the stage. And that was the thing that we tried to do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Mr. Williams, before we let you go, I got to get your top 5 list. Top 5 lists of all-time wide receivers.
Jesus, you trying to make it hard, man. Well, you got to go with the Rice man from the HBCU. And I'm gonna go again. I'm going to Sammy White. That I played for 2 years at Grambling and was Rookie of the Year with the Minnesota Vikings. So that's 2. You got to give Randy Moss all his props. Man, James Lofton was probably the best post corner and post runner that I've seen. Long-legged, run like the wind. I give him that one. And today, I got to ask somebody today, and I know he hadn't played as well this year, but you know what? I would have loved to play with Odell Beckham.
Okay.
I think me and him would have had a pretty good relationship.
Why is that? Wow, this is really – why is that?
Because Odell remind me of guys that I play with.
Okay.
And a guy like that, you got to have a relationship. You got to just tell him like it is, But I played with a guy, and I guess this is what I'm going to do too. I'm going to put him in another class of a guy I played with. Gary Clark. To me, Gary Clark should be in the Hall of Fame. Pound for pound, I always say Gary Clark was the toughest SOB I would play with in my life. He had what Odell Beckham have in himself. Them two alike. If you don't know Gary, you go back and take some highlights of Gary Clark, man. So I can take Gary and I can take Odell. They two are the same personality too. I want to tell you that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, sir, I want to appreciate you. I want to say thank you, and we appreciate all of your time today given here at the Mission. And just so many rich stories, man. We thank you so much. How's everything going with you at the Washington football team? A lot of great excitement. We had a chance to talk to Jason Wright, great friend of mine, doing a lot of great things there.
Great guy. It's going exceptionally well. And the good part about it, just watching, we're a young football team. Mm-hmm. If we took Alex Smith and Kerrigan off this football team, we probably would be averaging about 24 years old team. We're a very young football team, and they got room to grow. Mm-hmm. But just watching them every day go out there and grind and watching them play, understanding that we're not there yet. But we're working on it, and it's going to take a little time, but I think we'll get it done.
Well, we're going to be watching you. We thank you so much, and we can't wait to have Twice the Fun in 21 this coming next year.
I'm looking forward. All right, thanks.
Mr. Williams right here on The Mission.